Alright, so the first thing you want to do in this category is turn off the sound effects. It saves 1 minute and 9 seconds. And the reason is because when you enter levels with sound effects on, you'll get little cutscenes where the bosses talk to you. And those are slow. But turning off the sound effects automatically removes those, so you save a bunch of time throughout the run. It saves a little more in 105%, which is the 100% category of this game. Because there's at least one or more extra cutscenes, but for this category it saves 1 minute 9 seconds, according to Roach. So yeah, this is any percent no item glitch. It's called no item glitch because there's a glitch in Crash 2 and 3 called item glitch, obviously. And what that does is it overflows the combo counter. So if you bounce on 5 enemies in a row, you get a life. But if you jump on a bouncy crate 200 times, then bounce on enemies, you'll start getting stuff like crystals. And you can do that to get all the crystals throughout the game and just then do a boss rush. Beat the game in under half an hour. But an average 90% no item glitch run is between 45 to 55 minutes. So that was an underwater stage. The underwater stages are generally hated by people, because people generally hate underwater levels in video games. But I don't think they're too bad, just gotta get used to the controls, and obviously spinning and fast swimming is the fastest form of movement there, with a bit of control. So right here, as you can notice, I'm doing slide jumping, but it's not actually just normal slide jumping. I'm doing what is called neutral slide jumping. And what you do is you slide, but before you hit jump, you let go forward, so the jump is neutral, and you actually keep some of the momentum from the slide into the jump. And that's the fastest way to move on land, to keep things simple. And here I'm going to get invincibility. Invincibility is pretty important in this game, because when you mix it with the neutral slide jump, it's super fast. Like as you can see, I'm pretty much just cruising through this level right now with it. And when you do, and by the way, there's one of the crystals I need to go through the game. When you get 5 crystals, you'll fight the boss and then go on to the next world. Repeat it 5 times. When you do a neutral slide jump, you want to combine it with zigzag. Zigzag is moving left and right in the air, or if you're going sideways, it's up and down. You can do that both when you're in the air after jumping, or during your slide. So when I'm sliding down this, I'm going to be zigzagging during that whole thing. My downward zigzag's not very good, so I can't demonstrate it that well here, but any level where I'm going forward, I can demonstrate it pretty well. So here we're getting chased by a dinosaur. The dinosaur insta-kills you, even if you have masks, so... you can get kind of far away from him with the neutral slide jump and the zigzag, but he has pretty good rubber bands, so we can't get that far away from him compared to Crash 1 and Crash 2, where you can use zigzag and neutral slide spin in those respective games to get quite far from the boulders. But in this game, the dinosaur is pretty quick and has pretty good rubber band. This grass can be pretty annoying. It really slows you down, takes away all your momentum. There's another crystal. When you're sliding off edges, you can get what's called an extended slide, where your slide extends from the moment you press slide on the ground to when you land onto the next surface. And you want to zigzag that entire slide, because if you don't zigzag like an extended slide there, you can lose up to like 1 second, which is a lot in speedrunning. So that's all the platforming levels from this warp room. We got 2 vehicle levels next, but we can keep the masks through them, so we just gotta try not to lose them for when we have to do a platformer again, because we do want to get all the invincibilities. So here we're going to ride a tiger on the Great Wall of China, and what you want to do is you want to jump as much as possible, because each jump you do saves exactly 1 frame. So if you have that up throughout the level, you can save quite a bit. 30 jumps in 1 level would be 1 second. So yeah, we've been to Earth's beginnings, medieval, and now This is during the time when the Great Wall of China was being built. So this, obviously that means this game sort of revolves around time travel. Gotta travel throughout time to get the crystals. So you can stop Cortex from taking over the world, or something. I don't even really know the stories of these games that well. They're honestly not that good, but it's like most platforming games. And that's called Cuddle Skip. I'm really glad I got that. If you jump up on the scenery there, in that last tunnel, you can get a higher jump and go straight into that portal. And what that does is it skips some animations where Coco gets off the tiger and cuddles it, and you have to walk all the way to the portal, and Coco's slow. So this is a jet ski level. I hate these levels. In 90% they're pretty boring. In 105 they can be annoying because of the ramps. You gotta get the boxes over the ramps, which can be annoying because of the waves. But in 80% you just want to cut the corners as much as possible and keep your mask through it. This is probably the most boring level in the game, making waves. From a casual perspective at least, Crash 3 is a lot easier than Crash 1 and 2. Pretty much from Crash 1 they made each Crash game easier after that, at least for the PlayStation 1 games. Can't speak much for the games after that. Though I didn't think Wrath of Cortex is that hard of a game either. The 80% category for this game is easy to pick up. There's not too much to learn. Stuff gets a little bit advanced when you're at a high level, but it's not too much to learn. Not that many big skips or anything. It's a lot of little micro time saves that add up throughout the run. And the world record at the moment is 44 minutes 35 seconds by Kojiro, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 44.3x at least. And there's not much that can go off of that. 43 doesn't look realistic, but I think a 1x is possible, barely, with like a close to perfect run. And that's the point where like zigzag really starts to matter, around the 45 range. So this is the first boss fight. In the first phase he jumps 5 times, so you can sort of just count and be prepared to spin. And this is a little cheat here. You stand in the corner here, hold a diagonal, and not get hit by the lions. If you do that in the remaster, apparently the audience throws cheese at you, which is pretty cool. If Tiny stomps on you, he insta-kills you, so you gotta watch out for that. The lions will just take away a mask. And there's no music in this fight, because by skipping the cutscene at the start, we skipped the trigger for the music. So yeah, that's why. So that's the first power-up of the game. It's the Super Body Slam. You don't use it at all in 80%, but it just makes your Body Slam splash damage radius wider. You use it in 105% for the steel crates. Or not steel crates, the crates that have little cages around them to break them. Hang 'em high. The invincibility in this level is really important, whereas in some other levels it only saves like a couple seconds, but here we have hangrails, or monkey bars, whatever you want to call them. Those are really slow when you don't have invincibility, so you really want to have invincibility for them. So you want to do this level first in World 2, assuming you have 2 masks. So you want to make sure that you have this invincibility, because see how slow the hangrails are now. It's super important. And you can spin on these tarps. They're supposed to be bouncy, but if you spin on them it cancels the jump. Pretty good cycle there. You can spin and do NSJs off them like there. It's pretty cool. That was a pretty good hang 'em high. Next level I'm going to go to is Tomb Time, level 9. That's another platforming level. And the other one is G-Wiz, which if you get all the invincibilities in World 2, you do that one last, because that has 3 masks. So obviously if you lost a mask, you would go to that level to refill. So So that black stuff there is oil, and it's slippery. It's basically ice physics, if you want to look at it that way. Same ice physics from Crash 2, just with oil. So there's another invincibility. The good thing about invincibility in levels like this is that it keeps these doors open. Also, almost died there to momentum glitch. Without invincibility, you have a chance of having to wait for these doors. They're global cycles, which means their timers are operating as long as the game's not paused and is running, so that can be a bit of a problem. But with invincibility, they just get stuck open, so it's really, really convenient. You can just skip these platforms without having to hit that trigger and activate them. Oops. So I guess I should mention that Crash 2 had the main movement of neutral slide spin, which is similar to the neutral slide jump in that it's neutral movement, but it's a jump instead of a spin. Doesn't work in this game. You can still slide spin like this, but you only do it if there's like an enemy in the way or something like that, or if there's like a hole that's a certain distance from you that if you were to NSJ you would just fall into it. So it's situational pretty much. At a task level, they do normal slide spins instead of neutral slide jumps because they can do really good zigzag, but that's complicated, so I won't get into that. So yeah, this level has 3 masks. Again, that's why you would come to this level if you lose a mask in Warp 2. But we gotta do this at some point anyway, so now I just go to it. Oops. Crystals have pretty bad hitboxes in this game. You can also slide under them sometimes. Or slide under them, sorry. But spinning does make your hitbox bigger. It just can be kind of awkward to do with a neutral slide jump because spinning actually makes you go neutral. In Crash 2, if you want to go neutral, if you just let go forward, but in this game you just spin. So this is the motorbike level. Just like Mario Kart, you want to start holding the accelerator when the second light goes up. And then you get a little boost at the start, which helps. And here we have a booster pad. We're going to try and keep this throughout the whole level. Just by avoiding these racers and other obstacles. All the obstacles are consistent, including the racers, but the racers can still catch you up in the later motorcycle levels. Just want to sort of cut corners. And if I remember correctly, here it's actually faster to take this booster pad than cut this corner. I think it saves frames. And also, you want to let go of the boost before taking a ramp and keep letting go of X until you hit the ground. That also saves a very small amount of time, but it's free time save, so why not go for it? So World 2 is almost done. This is level 10. It's another Tiger level, Great Wall of China. Again, we want to jump as much as possible because each jump saves a frame. You can also zigzag with Coco at the start. An interesting thing, or a pretty silly thing about this game is that if you bring 2 Aku Aku masks into a Tiger level, then the boxes might not spawn properly, so that's actually a thing you have to be aware of in a 105% run. You do not want to enter this level with 2 masks, or if you do, you want to damage abuse at the start to get rid of one of the masks. It's mainly the boxes that are in the air. Like there's one that's supposed to be there, I think, that's on a balloon, or a kite or something, but it wasn't loaded because I had 2 masks. It's one of those things that makes you wonder, how did that get past the developers? So I'm going to try another cuddle skip here. I don't think I got it. Oh, I did. And we skipped the animation, just like the first level, where Coco does a little cuddle thing with the tiger and then you gotta walk to the portal, but we were able to skip that. by jumping off the enemy, which costs you a mast, and jumping off the flagpole thing. It can be a little tricky to get down, but it's actually much simpler than it looks. It's not much risk to it. So this is Dingodile. Glitched high jump, I forgot to mention that. If you crouch, jump, and spin pretty much at the same time, excuse me, you'll do a glitched high jump, which is normal. It's higher than a normal jump or like a crouch jump. And it pretty much breaks this fight. What you're supposed to do in this fight is you're supposed to wait for Dingodile to, like, use his flamethrower to break these crystal things, so then you can attack him. But glitched high jump allows you to just completely jump over it. That was a gold warp too. Something that's even more funny is on the PAL version, Crash's jump is higher, so you can actually just do a normal slide jump over, or a crouch jump over those crystals to break the fight. It's pretty funny. I guess I should talk about version differences. PAL for this game, the biggest thing for any percent with PAL is that there's less Aku Aku masks, so you get less invincibilities, and that's pretty much the only reason it's slower for any percent. It has a slower frame rate, runs at 25 FPS rather than 30 like NTSC. There's more enemies, some enemies move faster. They just made the PAL version harder because they got reviews that NTSC was too easy, and PAL was released after, so they made it harder. But yeah, PAL is generally bad for speedrunning. Well, it is just bad for speedrunning this game, and NTSC is fastest for all categories. For 105%, the biggest thing is that with Hot Cocoa, they fixed the time trial glitch, so you cannot get the box gem and the gold relic in Hot Cocoa on one cycle on the PAL version, because you don't have enough leeway on the time trial requirement. So yeah. Pretty good cycle there. Those disc things, those turbine things, whatever you want to call them, are on a global cycle, and those jets are spawn cycles. Spawn cycle meaning they're consistent. Whoops, that's fine. So that's the last water level. I have 2 masks, so I'm going to go to level 13, because this invincibility saves the most time out of the 3 platformers in this world. This is probably the hardest level in 80%. Tomb Waiter is probably next to it, but Tomb Waiter can be gotten down with practice, whereas this level just feels really inconsistent to everyone no matter how much it's practiced. I like to call it die time instead of high time. Oh, that was a dropped input right there. So you know that extended slide thing I was talking about earlier? Yeah, that can happen when you don't want it to, so you don't get a jump. I pressed jump there, but this game is infamous for doing that, giving you extended slides. And this is an out of bounds trick. I got that second try, which surprised me. It usually takes me like 5 tries because I'm bad. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It skips those slow handrails. So I died and lost my masks and didn't get the invincibility, but it's not too bad. The invincibilities generally don't save that as much time as you think they would, except for levels like Tomb Waiter and Hang 'em High, but even my PB doesn't get the Tomb Waiter invincibility. So, you can obviously save all time in other places. But yeah, that's a challenging level to do quickly. There's a lot of risky stuff in it. But if you don't get the invincibility, then there's not much you can do to go fast. So I'm going to go to this platformer. I'm going to miss this invincibility, but this one is less important than the level 15 invincibility. Oops. So I'll lose less time missing this invincibility compared to level 15. So here we have these annoying bandicoot fish things. When they spin, you can't kill them. They're pretty much invincible. Like, even if you have invincibility and try to crash through them, then you'll still get knocked back. So this is a Yoshi type animal. The thing that comes out of that egg is a little baby dinosaur that you can ride. It doesn't do anything, it's just something you can ride for fun. You can go through the grass without slowing down and get a high jump. And obviously he takes a hit for you, but turns out he's actually slower in his speedrun because you should be doing the neutral slide jump. You can't take the dinosaur past anywhere past the beginning of that first 2D part, but you can actually glitch it if you body slam him past the trigger. And when you do that and bring him to this part, which I don't know why Naughty Dog didn't decide to have you on a dinosaur while being chased by a dinosaur, because Crash 2 had that with being on a polar bear being chased by a giant polar bear. But if you manage to do that with a glitch, then stuff actually starts lagging and starts spawning incorrectly. Textures get fucked. It's pretty cool, but slow for a speedrun. Motorcycle levels can go anywhere. You can't lose or gain any masks, so you can just put them wherever you please. I just felt like doing it now. Again, start holding the accelerator when the second light goes up. This motorcycle level is actually pretty hard at first. I honestly think that this motorcycle level should be in World 5 and not World 3. There's another motorcycle level in World 5, but I honestly think that should be in like World 4, or maybe even World 3, switch with this one. Because it is actually very easy to lose this race. If you make too many mistakes, if you like hit a cop car or fall in a hole, it's usually a dire mistake. Oops. That's fine. A mistake like that won't make you miss the crystal, but this turn here is pretty challenging to not lose a bunch of time on. Even there I did it pretty slowly, but you can get it down. So the strat here is to keep that booster thing past the ramp and past the roadblock and to the left of these cop cars. It's actually really cool, and I'm really glad I got it there because it's not free. It's pretty challenging. And while you're using the boost, or I guess I should call it the wheelie, because it's a wheelie, you can actually use the brake during the wheelie if you time it enough, but if you use the brake for too long, you'll go back to normal driving. So keep that in mind. It can make sharp turns easier and keep the boost for longer. Or the wheelie, I should call it the wheelie. So next level is Doubleheader. This level actually has a really bad reputation for crashing right at the start. You won't get it much on newer PS2s. I have a 90K model PS2, so I never have to really worry about it, but back when I played on emulator I got it, and I've gotten it once on this console, but it unfroze. I know someone with a 39K, I think, and he crashes in this level a lot. It's pretty consistent. I don't think anyone really knows why, but it's probably because there's a lot in this level. There's a lot of weather effects. It's raining, lightning, and all that stuff. I think Naughty Dog just put way too much stuff in this level. But yeah, this is the last medieval level. The medieval levels have been pretty easy. They're not too hard to die in because there's not that many holes. Pretty much takes a fluke to die in these levels, like an extended slide like I got in Hang 'em High, or High Time, sorry. The last Arabic level that we did. Missed the crystal again. These wizard guys take 2 hits to kill in the PAL version. It's an example of how they tried to make things harder. And also the enemies in the future levels shoot 5 rockets instead of 3, and some of the other enemies in those levels move faster. So yeah, that's World 3. This is Entropy, the 3rd boss. It's pretty simple. He's on the other side of the room. He shoots projectiles at you and just dodge them until he's vulnerable. Then you go hit him. Not too much to this fight. There's a damage boost that was found by the Tasser a tasker named the 8-bit beast that you can do in this fight, but I don't know how to do it, so I'm not going to show it off, and it doesn't save that much time. But basically, I think if you go up and approach him, take damage, and you get iframes, and you're able to mess with him so he doesn't insta-kill you. And that somehow skips some parts of the fight, like I think shoots one less projectile or something like that. Yokohana Magic, thanks for the host. And yeah, you can hug the foreground here and not get hit by the beams that go left and right. Please lever to dodge the ones that go come towards you. I forgot to mention that after the World 2 boss Dingodile, we got the double jump. And now we have the Death Tornado Spin, which allows us to spin for several more seconds than usual, which is pretty useful in a lot of levels. It makes a lot of the platforming levels really easy. You can just hover over everything. Though in a speedrun, you want to not do that because it's slower than just neutral slide jumping, obviously. Oops. If I'm ever like crouching like that and Crash is like trying to crawl, it's because of lag. It's the game trying to extend my circle input according to Dust. So you can hit that thing while it's underwater. It's a pretty tight input, but it's not like frame perfect or anything. So the beginning of the stage is probably the hardest part, getting that water cycle, getting that mask in time. But level's just a thing of practice. It's one of my most practiced levels, but I would still say that high time is harder than the hardest level, 90%. So that's the Death Tornado Spin there. You know, we saw it earlier in the stage. And it's not just a longer spin, it also that gives you a little bit of a hover in the air. Also, did I just die? Soft lock? Huh? Huh? Okay, I've never seen that before. That's pretty cool. Glad that happened when I'm trying to do a commentary thing. Well, you've seen something new at least. So what you would normally do there is I'll try and do it again. Like that. You would jump over that door and go out of bounds for a second. But I got stuck on something. I don't know if there's like a death trigger up there. I've only recently started doing that strat, so I guess I'm not fully knowledgeable on it. Yo, Vanny, thanks. Just trying to commentate a run of Crash the 90% to see if I want to submit it to a marathon. So due to the fact I lost some masks in that level, I'm going to go to this level because it has a free mask in it. It's another jet ski level. Again, not a huge fan of these. They're generally pretty boring in 80%. All you want to do is just really cut corners and avoid death. This level's really annoying in the 105% category because there's the boxes over the ramps, and the waves in this level can get really high. And so you can miss those boxes and lose a lot of time. It's not much of an issue, 90%, just really, really boring. So there's the free mask. So yeah, not much to talk about in this stage. Just riding along. It's boring, but it's also sort of like tranquil, if you will. The music's pretty calming and don't have to focus too much. You can sort of prepare yourself for harder levels later on. There's the crystal. Oh, and I guess one other thing I should mention is that you don't want to take the ramps because they lose frames instead of just driving next to them and taking the water. So I'm going to get one less invincibility in this world, but that's fine. I'm not going to get the invincibility in this level, but if I get good door cycles then I won't lose that much. But because those are global cycles, it's pretty much chance. That's a pretty good cycle there, I'll take that. So I think with that door cycle I'll get all the other ones, if I'm not mistaken. Like I'm gonna get this one and I should get the other two doors in this level, as long as I don't screw up something. Again, there's more oil. Pretty much just ice physics like in Crash 2. You can use the death tornado spin to keep momentum. There's a few ways you can keep momentum. You can also just do jumps and use the slide. A lot of cool techniques. Some of them are pretty complicated. Like there, I kept momentum with a jump, just to show that off. You can skip that moving platform. I don't remember being taught in school that the Egyptians had flamethrowers, but I'll assume that this video game is accurate. Because it clearly is. So yeah, I got all the door cycles, which is pretty lucky. So I don't think I'll lose too much time there for not getting the invincibility. If you got bad cycles there, you would damage abuse to keep one of the doors open, because getting hit by an enemy keeps doors open for longer. But I still needed invincibility for this level, so that's not an option, so the fact that I got good cycles there is really good. No one really understands the cycles in these levels, but I've gotten pretty good ones where I only had to wait for one laser at the start, and even then I didn't have to wait for that, but I choose to because it's really awkward to skip it. And it lines up all the other cycles nicely, so. This invincibility is really nice, you skip a lot of enemies. Screwed up the strat there. What we want to do there is do a slide, like a glitched high jump out of the slide after landing on the ground. It's a bit tricky though. I probably shouldn't go for it because I screwed up so much. Oh, dang it. What I tried to do there is I tried to spin the top box so I can do a slide off the second one, but the risk with doing that is that if you're in the air from the nitro bouncing up in the air, they'll get a body slam, so that's the risk with doing that. Doesn't really matter though, because there's no more invincibilities you can get. And that is due to the fact that a plane level is up next, and that level takes away your masks. And so does the boss for this warp room, so you cannot leave this warp room with masks in 90%. So first of all, you want to hold right at the start, because it gets you closer to the first plane you need to shoot down. People generally hate the plane levels, but I actually kind of like them. It's sort of a guilty pleasure. The secret to bye-bye blimps is you want to line yourself up with the blimps like this, so that all your bullets just shoot right into it, and you don't have to adjust your altitude. If you have enough muscle memory, you can just know how long you need to hold left or right for, or up or down to get the right altitude, which I pretty much know. My level's really short. It's pretty fun though. So this is the 4th boss engine. It functions sort of like a plane level in that it takes away your masks, like I said before. There's no cutscene at the start, so you want to just already be firing. So you can take out his weak spots, which are, for this phase, his belly button, his cannons on the sides, and his shoulders. The fight's a little awkward to do because this spaceship that you're shooting out of is pretty weird, and also engine moves in space, so gotta sort of line up those two things. Like, as you can see, he's sort of tilting his spaceship around in weird directions. You generally don't have to worry about the rockets that he shoots. They don't do that much damage, and you'll shoot most of them anyway, because they're in your line of fire. That was alright. So from defeating that boss, we're going to get the Fruit Bazooka, which isn't really used in an 8%, but if I get a certain cycle on an enemy, then I will use it. But it's more of a thing in 105% to blow up nitros and some other weird boxes. Casually you can use it to kill a bunch of enemies, but obviously in a speedrun that's slow. So for this warp room I'm going to do the vehicle levels first. There's a motorcycle level and a plane level. Like I said before, motorcycle level can go anywhere because they don't take away masks or give them. And there's also a plane level which takes away masks, so you want to do that either like first or last, because there are 3 platformers in this world. I've read that doing the motorcycle level, the plane level, then the Egyptian level gives you good door cycles in the Egyptian level, but I don't really know how that works, and I don't know if that's like an actual fact or just some confirmation bias, but I give it a shot every time pretty much. So you can skip over the holes with the boost. It's not that difficult, but just gotta line it up properly. This level's pretty fun because it's mostly revolving around boosts and keeping them for as long as possible. But unfortunately we gotta cut it off here. So boost hidden behind this ramp. That's one of the trickiest boosts to keep in the game. At least at first it is, but you can sort of wiggle with the brake and keep the boost. Just don't hit the brake for too long or else you'll lose the boost. Oh no. Okay, you can skip all these holes at the end, but I screwed it up. At least I saw the one earlier, so I can get an idea of what I was trying to do there. Alright, so second plane level. This level's really hard to optimize because of the way you have to take down the engines of the planes. This plane I like to sort of let it get past me so I can go behind it and get direct shots at the engines. But you can't hit it from the front, it's just a bit tricky. Compared to the other flying level, it's actually kind of easy to die in this fight if you don't spin enough in these planes. If you let them shoot at you for too long, they can actually drain a lot of your health. So you just gotta be aware of your health as you play through the level. And get a health balloon if you really feel that you need it. And you can also off-screen the planes if it becomes a huge issue. I remember I had a 105% run where I had to get all the boxes in the crystal and I had like less than 10% health remaining and I still had like a third of the level left. So I was losing a lot of time trying to off-screen the plane so they didn't kill me and there were no health balloons left. So you want to go to this level first, level 25, Bug Light, 'cause it has a bunch of free masks in it. There's also an invincibility in level 21 going tomorrow. There's no invincibility in Flaming Passion level 23 because there is no masks, but you generally just want to bring some masks into the level from going tomorrow just for safety. There it wasn't necessary, but just to show it off, if that door was on a different cycle, it would actually stay open for longer due to the fact that I took a hit there from that mummy. So that's why you would do to keep that door open. And you don't need that mask because, as you saw there, I picked up 3 free masks for this invincibility, and I can keep 2 of the masks into going tomorrow for an invincibility. I recommend not jumping on top of those snakes because they have horrible hitboxes. So just spin them, or slide spin them. This invincibility is pretty fun. You can just smash through all this garbage. But it actually doesn't save as much time as you'd think it would. It's only like 2 seconds or something like that. Something really low. So if you miss it, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, that's the last invincibility of the game. So, losing any mask doesn't matter, it just makes things a little bit more dangerous. Pretty good cycle here, so I don't have to do anything fancy. Hello. So yeah, we have 1 mask for this level, which will make things a little bit safer. This level is a notorious run killer. Not because it's difficult, but because it's just a huge input dropper. Like, you know, that extended slide I got in high time, that can happen a lot more in this level for whatever reason. And that could be mainly because there's a lot of these like carpets that are in the air and you gotta slide off them. So that's just asking for your slide to get extended into the hole. That's a cool little trick there. You can body slam through the tarp, get on top of it. Alright, didn't drop any inputs, that's good. So now we have all 25 crystals, and we can now fight final boss Cortex. He's really easy, but kind of nerve-wracking when you're on a good pace, because you don't want to be an idiot and die. So here we have the two masks, good versus evil, fighting. And obviously that big beam can hit you, and Cortex shoots lasers at you, and after a certain point he throws those mines, then his shield goes down and you knock him into this hole. And each time you knock him into the hole, it takes a hit for him. For each phase, Aku and Aku do something different. So this time they're spinning around in the arena. It's consistent though. I feel like they could have made it harder if it followed you. That mine's kind of in the way. Not a big deal though. He was dead. I can link the pay spin or whatever you want in the title, Frenchie, after. And yeah, in this phase they do follow you and they make explosions, but it's obviously really easy to avoid. And the last thing you want to do is you want them to blow up right there, because it destroys the mines. So you can get Cortex in the hole cleaner. Like that. And that's it. That's the Speed Shoes ability. Makes you run faster. It's intended for the time trials to make the relics easier, but in a 105% speedrun, don't even need it because they have the neutral slide jump and zigzag. And yeah, that's about it.